Woo! Hey cosplayers! Thank you so much for tuning in. I got a fun video for you guys today. If you've just been getting started with working with EVA Foam or are looking to get into it or even been working with it for a little while, you may have asked yourself the question, how do I know which thickness of foam to get to do what, right? Sometimes it can be really confusing. There's a lot of different EVA foams out there. Which one should I use and which thickness should I use for what it's working on? If you've asked this question, go ahead and comment with EVA in the comments below. Go ahead and do that right now. And with that, let's jump in. We're going to head over here. While I'm doing that, go ahead and make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification on your way back up from the comments. And select all notifications so that you get notified whenever we come out with a quick tip clip video. All right. Okay, with that, let's jump in. So EVA foams and foam thicknesses, right? There's all kinds of different EVA foams out there. Oh, he took his shield out of here. You've probably seen the floor mat foam. It's got smooth EVA foam on one side, but the other side has kind of like tread marks or different things like that. It's
the Wonder
commonly
Woman.
made. Oh yeah, commonly used it for tiling down on a floor for a garage or a gym or something like that, a workout area or something. So this was made with EVA foam floor mat. One of the disadvantages is it doesn't come in very many thicknesses, and so you can see some of these pieces are kind of thick right here, and you have to try to hide the thickness if you're wanting like a thinner armor look sometimes. And it's a little bit bulky, a little bit soft of a foam too, and so you have to go with a lot thicker foam in order to get the hold and shape that you want. Then on top of that, you have kind of the foams that are made more for cosplay, so they're going to be smooth on both sides, going to be a little bit higher density, and come in a variety of thicknesses. And if you can, usually they're not too much more expensive, but it's definitely an upgrade to just go with these, especially when you're starting off. It's going to make your projects and your life so much easier because it's easier to work with as a beginner as well. It'll provide better results and it's easier to work with. And so these work great. Still though, they're a little bit softer foams. And so you do have to still kind of go with thicker pieces, not as much. You can get away with doing a 6mm and create a helmet or different things like that out of it and have it hold its shape just great. For example, this one is made out of either 5mm or 6mm with the regular Cosplay EVA foams. And they work awesome, super great, and they come in a variety of thicknesses, which is awesome. And then after that, you have our What the Foam, which is kind of more of a combination crossover between like a thermoplastic and EVA foam. Has a lot higher plastic content to it and is a lot more durable, dense, and has a lot more hold to it for the thickness, right? So the answer to the question of what thickness of foam should I get to do what is going to change based on what type of these foams you're using, right? So I'll just kind of go through a couple different scenarios of different things. We've covered a little bit of what kind of things you can make with each thickness. Usually with these type of cosplay foams, you're going to go with like a 10mm or a 6mm as kind of your base for most things, and you'll get a pretty good hold for the shape, and it'll hold pretty rigid. So like I said here with the helmet, this is like down to a 5 or a 6mm, and that works pretty well. Just with that. And then if you're doing props and things like that, so for armors and things like that, these work great. Especially the thinner you can go with armor and have it have a good hold, the better. For props and things like that, you will start kind of with a 10mm and go up into some thicker foams depending on what you're doing. You can get up to all kinds of different thicknesses depending on where you get the foam from. But this one I think is like a 1 inch or like 1 1/4 or something like that. And these type of ones work great for cutting out and creating a handle really easily. If you don't want to buy the thicker ones though, you can always glue together a couple 10mm to get the thickness that you need, just with some contact cement. So that's a couple examples there. So armors, generally you'll be between like 2mm for details, 4mm for details in some structure, like for example, Here, these fins were done in 4mm, you know, because they're just going to be straight. You're not having to worry about too much there. And depending on how thick you're needing things, like this is done in a 4mm because I wanted that to stick out further than the 2 here, right? So here's a 2mm for details. When you're using 2mm of kind of the cosplay, general cosplay foams, it's not going to be able to be structural. You can't necessarily use it for straps and have it like hold and actually have some tension and take some wear and tear. But with our What the Foam, you can go with a 2mm and use it as a functional strap. Here I did a leather look on this pauldron here with this, and have it actually functioning as a full strap that you can just put in here. And I also have the strap that runs around my arm made out of this as well. Let me just show you an example here with our 2mm. Like it doesn't just rip like you'd get from standard, you know, 2mm foam kind of thing, right? If I do that on this. Anyway, just kind of give you an example of depending on what type of foam you're going with, you can use the foam for different things, right? So I love our 2mm for that, creating straps that actually function, and you can do a lot more with this because it will hold its shape really well as well and keep it won't lose it, and so you can get thinner. With these type of foams, with our What the Foam, I recommend the 4mm as your base. So it works really great for armors and things like that because you can build, you know, pauldrons and have them be thinner and not have to try to hide the thickness like I was talking about that you have to do sometimes on pieces like this. I was able to effectively hide the thickness, but if you do look in here, it does become kind of bulky and sticks off of you more than rather than kind of sitting nice and tight, or like sitting more flush, if that makes sense. And it's easier to get that armor look with the thinner foams that hold their shape really well. So with that, what else did I want to show? Here's a pauldron made with the 6mm of What the Foam, which is very, very strong. This one, depending on your use as well, if you're a LARPer or something like that, you can make armor out of this, and it actually has, you know, some rigidity to it. You try to push down on this and it's like it won't move, right? So yeah, I think that's kind of a basics on different thicknesses, what purposes they can serve, and kind of a couple differences between a couple different EVA foams. I think in the link in the description I'll include links to What the Foam, and then also where you can get the different good cosplay foams that I highly recommend as well, that come in all different thicknesses as well. So hopefully that was helpful to you. If you know somebody that's getting into EVA foam and they've been wondering these same questions, please share this video with them. Give this a like if you liked it. Thumb it down if you didn't. That's fine too. And make sure and answer the question if you haven't. What is your greatest challenge when it comes to working with EVA foam? So what is your single greatest challenge when it comes to working with EVA foam? Let me know, and hopefully we'll answer that question in a future video. Thank you guys so much, and cosplay on, my friends.